welcome back to World Crisis Radio. So Obama talks about nuclear reactors. Again, it is a ploy, a cynical gambit. At the same time to grab a hold of it with everything you've got and use this to get some action on this. Remember, the Republican House caucus with Congressman Pence is on record saying we need to build 100 nuclear reactors over 20 years. Now, the 100 part they got right. The 20 years they got wrong. That's pathetic. Not 20 years, 20 months. Can-do spirit. Lend-lease, like Liberty ships, right? You could start building them one every couple of weeks. By the time, actually even less, you can build a Liberty ship in less than a week by the end of it. We should point out the Wall Street Journal calls attention to some interesting things. Now, we're always interested in any way to get action going on the nuclear front, because if you don't do this, you're on your way to becoming ethnographic material. You're going to become an exhibit in somebody else's museum. Wall Street Journal here on Thursday, small reactors generate big hopes. So Babcock and Wilcox is manufacturing small reactors that can generate 125 to 140 megawatts of power. That's about 1/10 of a normal-sized nuclear reactor. But you can put this on a railroad car. You could probably put it on a large trailer truck, but a railroad car, you could move these together, and by assembling say 4 of them, you could get up to a 500 megawatt plant. Now, this might be a way to go around the inevitable sabotage from the environmentalist lunatics, right? The rich elitists, the Malthusian cliques of haters of science, technology, and progress. And you know, the reason that the costs of these nuclear reactors are so high is because you're going to be sued by the various environmentalist cliques and their super rich, elitist, Malthusian backers. So somehow you've got to get around this. So maybe this Babcock and Wilcox method is one. This deserves some attention. Of course, new kinds of nuclear reactors coming out all the time. The story seems to be that the total cost of the 2 reactors in Georgia is $14 billion. So let's suppose that even with all these lawsuits and sabotage and harassment factored in, it's $7 billion for a reactor. You got to build 100. So that's $700 billion. Now, if you did a stimulus based on that, you would get an economic recovery instead of frittering it all away on these little projects. Some have merit, some have none, but even the ones that have merit don't combine to critical mass in the form of an economic recovery. So you got to get the critical mass, although we don't want to mix metaphors on a subject like this. But $7 billion per reactor. Therefore, the bill for 100 modern ones would be $700 billion. These are approximately 1,000 to 1,200 megawatt reactors. If you did that, I think the estimate is that for each reactor you get 3,000 construction jobs and 800 permanent jobs running the reactor. So, again, put the 100 in there, you'd be getting 300,000 jobs building the reactors and 80,000 permanent jobs running them. But the multiplier effect for such things is infinitely greater than it is for low-wage jobs that have no capital investment per job. Because, of course, when you're building these reactors, you've got concrete, you've got steel, you've got all kinds of equipment, you've got transportation equipment. The multiplier factor is immense, and I would hesitate to pick a figure off the top of my head, but it's got to be something like 10 to 1, so it would really be more like 3 million jobs being created in the construction and 800,000 permanent jobs that just don't go away. And, of course, you would come out of that with the most modern energy infrastructure in the world. You would go from a situation where the U.S. grid is always on the brink of collapse in the middle of the summer and brownouts become the order of the day. You would go to a regime of abundant and ultimately economical nuclear energy, and you could then look around and see what the next generation might look like. So this is simply a matter of national survival. If you don't go nuclear, you're committing national suicide. And again, get ready to be interviewed by Chinese anthropologists who will come and question you about these quaint Malthusian beliefs. On a world scale, the nuclear debate is over. Finish. Schluss. It does not exist anymore. The world has decided in favor of nuclear energy, and you can go through the catalog of all the countries. And again, Obama did. China 21, India 6, South Korea 6, U.S. 2. How about that for a medal count in the nuclear Olympics? That's pathetic. Time to go for the gold. Time to go for 100 new ones. Because if you don't, the Chinese, with their current program, will pass the United States in nuclear energy somewhere between 2020 and 2025. And if we put that together with the other scorecards, fast rail, U.S. is about 300 miles operating, if lucky. That's between Washington and New York. And in order to get to that, you've got to have the most generous definition of what fast rail is. The Acela at 110 miles an hour, well, I don't know. The Chinese are going 350 Ks per hour between Canton and one of those northern cities. They're in the process of building the Shanghai to Beijing, and they right now have 3,300 Ks of operating fast rail, and they're headed for 18,000 miles, I think, not even Ks, for the program. So they're already ahead there. And then again, the worst thing that Obama has done recently is the deliberate destruction of the U.S. space program. The Chinese are going. India is going. Russia at least maintains a presence in space. The U.S. right now is earthbound. The U.S. is stuck in the mud under Obama. The greatest crime, the greatest betrayal of the Kennedy New Frontier comes from Obama, validating the thesis we've had here. Obama's not the new FDR. He's the anti-FDR, looking to destroy Social Security next year, if he can, joining with the Republicans in a bipartisan destruction of Social Security. He's not the new LBJ. He's the anti-LBJ, looking to cut $500 billion out of Medicare. And he's not the new JFK. It's not the new frontier. It's not Camelot. It's the anti-JFK, destroying the space program that Kennedy, building on Eisenhower, had actually launched. So this is just a terrible situation. Now, again, we mentioned Governor McDonnell of Virginia, the stealth reactionary, and we've gone through the figures, right? $1 billion of cuts out of some of the most essential social expenditures. This kind of stuff leads to the breakdown of representative government. This is the lesson of the Weimar Republic in Germany. If you have unemployment, and by the way, the cuts that McDonnell talks about, they're going to have to fire, I think the figure is 30,000 jobs will be destroyed in the state education program. 30,000 teachers, teachers' aides, and other jobs in the education system are going to be destroyed. There's a campaign by the reactionaries to say, yeah, public workers get too much. Public workers get high pay. Yeah, public workers get high pay because they have unions. It's been easier to defeat union-busting activities in the public sector than it has in the private sector. So one reason they get more money is because they have unions. The answer to that is not to destroy the public sector unions, but to unionize other sectors of the economy so that there's a counterpoise to the inordinate and limitless greed and arrogance and impudence of the financier ruling class. And we'll be back in a moment.